Hey everyone, Matt Montada here, and welcome to my top 10 worst movies of 2018. Now, yesterday I did a video revolving around my top 10 best films of the year, and since I did that, well, might as well look at what this year had to offer us in terms of the worst. And, I must say, 2018 gave us some really anger-inducing, devastating stinkers. And we're going to talk about them right now. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. If there's a film here that you found underrated, then I completely respect your opinion. I just ask that you respect mine. And if there's a film that you thought would be on this list but isn't, then chances are I just haven't seen it. Because I haven't seen every film that came out this year. But, yeah. Before we go on to my list, I have 5 dishonorable mentions. And they are Action Point, The Happy Time Murders, Show Dogs, The Spy Who Dumped Me, and Uncle Drew. Those are my 5 dishonorable mentions. So starting off this list with number 10, we have Mile 22. Oh boy, Mile 22. Peter Berg, what happened to you? You went from directing films such as Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon, and then this pile of garbage comes along and this film is just bad. It is filled with very mediocre performances, a very uninteresting plot, which should have been interesting, and action that was so uneventful and was so poorly shot and poorly edited. My gosh. This film had some of the worst editing that I've seen in a movie in a while. And it features a sequel bait ending that literally ends so abruptly, I literally thought there was 20 minutes left of the film. But yeah, Mile 22, number 10. Coming in at number 9, we have Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Oh boy. How is it that you take a film about dinosaurs and make it so boring and so poorly made? Well, let's just say it was the script's fault. I'm sure the director was at least trying, I hope, I guess. But with the script that he was given and the performances that were showcased in the film, ay, oh mio. And the action compared to the other Jurassic Park movies and some other blockbusters that came out this year, the action in this was so... It was so uneventful and just unappealing. Like, this film was just so dull and so boring and so sloppy. Like, it just comes off as just bland and boring. So yeah, that's my number 9, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Coming in at number 8, speaking of bland and boring, The Hurricane Heist. The Hurricane Heist features not only some of the most dull-looking visuals of the year, but the CGI in particular was just... oh boy, it was bad. It looked like Sci-Fi Channel original CGI. Then you have the performances, which were either too wooden for their own good or just downright cartoonish. And not only is the plot so boring as well, but the sound design in this film is some of the worst in 2018. It just felt like whenever they had cars crashing and flying and stuff is flying and blowing up everywhere, like the sound design just feels so sounds so clunky and so one note. Particularly several moments where someone would have a conversation in the car with another character, it literally sounded like their performances had to be dubbed in post-production, and you can tell very well during those scenes. So yeah, Hurricane Heist comes in at number 8. Coming in at number 7, we have The Predator. I was not looking forward to this film to begin with, but this was just a travesty. Gosh. Because not only is the action bad and the performances were cartoonish as hell, but also the humor was completely one note. It was either raunchy jokes just for the sake of raunchy jokes, or jokes making fun of disabilities, like mental disabilities. And it just makes for a very unpleasant experience watching it. And the CGI in this film is some of the worst of the year, especially on the predator dogs and the giant predator. Boy, was it just dreadful. That was just dreadful CGI there. But yeah, The Predator is by far one of the most unpleasant and most dreadful blockbusters to come out in recent years, and it comes in at number 7. Coming in at number 6, we have the only film that I've seen from this franchise, thank God. And let's just hope it stays this way. But number 6 is The First Purge. Now, I knew this was going to be bad, but honestly, it was bad for all the wrong reasons. I mean, don't get me wrong. The story and the message it conveys to the audience is completely toxic. But the reason that I hated it more than I did is because you can tell that this film had a $15 million budget. Because the way the film was made, it was just so freaking cheap. And that's literally how I can describe the filmmaking here. Cheap. Especially the sound design, which they didn't even really try to use actual sound effects. It felt more like they pulled a bunch of stock sound effects from like tons of 80s and 90s, well, not really 80s, but tons of 90s shooter video games, and just incorporated them into a lot of the action scenes in this film. But yeah, the sound design is cheap, or lack thereof. Some of the visual effects look cheap, and everything else from a technical aspect is cheaply made. It just felt like they were not trying at all with this film. But yeah, overall, The First Purge comes in at number 6. Coming in at number 5, we have Night School. Yep, another film that I wasn't looking forward to begin with, but when I finally saw it, it turns out it was just as bad as I thought. It's pretty much this year's version of Fist Fight. With stupid characters, a nonsensical plot, terrible humor, and just some of the most obnoxious freaking performances of the year. Especially from Tiffany Haddish as the teacher. Just Tiffany Haddish, can you stop making movies? You're not funny, and you're not a good actress. Just stop. You're not good at all. As well as Kevin Hart, just leave Hollywood or just go on to do like dramatic roles from now on, because you're freaking terrible in this film and in general. But yeah, Night School comes in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Melissa McCarthy and Ben Falcone's weakest film to date, and that is Life of the Party. Melissa McCarthy, this was another year for you where you get to prove once again that you could do so much better than this material. And you guys thought that her performance in Happy Time Murders was bad? And granted it was, and Happy Time Murders was a terrible film in general, but this was just unbearable. The humor, the screenplay, the acting, everything about this movie just falls flat. And it tries way too hard at the end to be a very emotional and inspirational film, which is something that I actually forgot to bring up about Night School, is that it tries way too hard to be like one of those like inspirational, like purely motivating type of films, and when in actuality it's not. It's just not. But yeah, Life of the Party comes in at number 4. Good grief. Now, coming in at number 3 is a film that some people actually really liked. It has an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, and honestly, I don't get it. My number 3 is Blockers, starring John Buckethead Cena. Just John Cena, just stop it. Stop making movies. Please, just no, stop. You can do much better than this. I mean, granted, I haven't seen Bumblebee yet. I hear that's a great film. But between this and Daddy's Home 2, which I thought was mostly just mediocre, but this was just unbearable. And every single character is unlikable and stupid. The humor was cringeworthy and very creepy at times as well. The screenplay literally borrows from better comedy films. And it tries way too hard, once again, to be an emotional film, and it just falls flat at that. And the way it tries to convey its message, it just felt like they wanted to throw it in at the last minute because they forgot to put in a message in, so they try to fit it in somewhat, and it just feels very artificial, and it's just boring and unfunny and painful. It literally drove me mad how bad this film was. But yeah, Blockers comes in at number 3. Coming in at number 2, we have the worst action film of the year, and that is Peppermint. Now, about Peppermint, excuse me, I was not looking forward to it, but once I saw it, this was truly the pure definition of just a weak, poorly done, just unbearable action thriller. From the nonsensical plot to the lack of character development, especially for our main character, but it just felt like the screenwriter just wanted to rush through the story as quickly as possible, so he just threw in whatever he could into the story and just hope the audience is okay with it. I was not okay with it. No, I wasn't. And then we get to the action. Oh, good grief. Can I even consider this an action film? This film literally has like 4 or 5 action scenes in the entire movie, and not only are all of them way too short, but all of them are so poorly shot and poorly edited. I dare even go as far as to say the editing in this is worse than it was in frickin' Mile 22. Yeah, I'm going there. And it borrows way too much from films such as Death Wish, Batman, and even Upgrade to an extent. That was a really good film, by the way. Upgrade from this year. Really good film. But yeah, Peppermint, oh boy. It's by far the worst action film of the year, and it comes in at number 2. Alright, so now, coming in at number 1, we have quite possibly one of the most exhausting, the most agonizing, most torturous movies I've ever had to sit through. Jeez Louise. My number 1 is Red Sparrow. This film, I don't even think this film was meant to be made on purpose. That's how bad it was. It just felt more like an excuse just for Francis Lawrence, director of the last 3 Hunger Games films, by the way. It felt more like he wanted to make this film just so he can show off how much of a psychopathic, idiotic, and sex-hungry, perverted, satanic monster he is, especially after directing this piece of garbage. Because you can tell nobody was trying in this film. Not the performances, not the directing, not the cinematography, not the action, not the suspense. Nothing tried. It just felt more like an excuse for Hollywood to get their corporate asses to work and put out a product, not a film, product, and create a very sexist, sex-hungry, poorly done, bland, torturous, satanic slock of a film. It is a film that's main purpose is not to entertain, or to inspire, or create, or to provide any purpose whatsoever. It was just made so people can pay money out of their wallets just so they can watch women be tortured and having them be raped and having sex all the time, and there's just no meaning to it. There's just no purpose behind the use of sex or rape or graphic violence in this film. It provides no purpose. It was just made just so people can probably just sit there and play with their little dinkies or whatever for 2.5 hours, because apparently that's what Hollywood has come to nowadays. They think that seeing women being tortured, raped, and being complete idiots in this film to be entertainment. And this film is anything other than that. And it's so poorly made and just one of the worst theater experiences I've ever had. So yeah, Red Sparrow comes in at number 1. So yeah, that is it for my worst films of the year list. Hopefully 2019 turns out to be a better year for film, and I wish you all a happy new year. Hope you have a great year, and look forward to more videos in the future, hopefully. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.